Companies, both big and small, are always trying to find ways to streamline and ultimately automate the most cumbersome, painful points of a workflow. And Anthony with SeedLegals and Roger with ProFinda, you're both doing it with different applications. Anthony, I want to start with you. From my own experience as a venture capitalist, over 100 companies in my portfolio, one of the biggest challenges is the cost and time it takes to conclude a seed financing.
Right, so ironically, there are probably 6 key deal terms, but 200 pages of documentation. So what we do is transform you talking to a lawyer, them talking to lawyers, lots of costs, lots of paperwork into you saying to the computer what you would like. It creates all the deal documents. So deals close in about 1/4 the time that they used to and 1/4 the cost. And then separately, companies are now changing the way they raise investment. So before it took so long and was so expensive to do a funding round, you do these insane 12 to 18 month go big or go bust rounds.
Right.
But if you can shrink the time and cost, there's now the rise of agile fundraising. So companies can raise every few months, top up, raise ahead of a round. So it's transforming the way that companies can raise their next round or their next investment.
And Roger, you found a way to streamline the challenge that big organizations have of matching the right people and skills to a project.
The first piece for firms to recognize is that they talk about their most important asset, and it's an asset that they know nothing about. It both holds so much potential, but it also holds so much risk. So what we've been seeing across these massive multinational firms is they'll spend sometimes $600, $700, $800 million a year to hire people because of the perfect blend of skills and competency. And the moment those people are in the firm, no one knows them. So what we've seen is typically 2 weeks to 4 weeks can be lost in the time to put teams together, to put bids together, that sort of classic machinery, the production layer of firms. And we've managed to get that down to about 2 seconds. Plus the quality's obviously gone up. Our latest calculation for multinationals is there's about $15 billion of opportunity cost per multinational, obviously on a global basis. So the opportunity is vast just by more efficiently understanding the skills that you have and how you align that to work.
But part of it also is getting people engaged more and enjoying the job that they're doing as well. So you've been able to measure any enhancements in sort of employee engagement or satisfaction?
That comes, as you can imagine, as a lovely byproduct of getting it right. So what we have to think when we get it right is how do you match not just the skills that people have, but the interests around skills with the right work. So there's a whole melting pot of sort of metadata, the data that lives around work and people. If you can get that melting pot right, the algorithms that cook it together, then you do get that beautiful alignment. And that's when you get people involved in not just the right work, but the work they care about.
Speaking of algorithms, when you look forward in the technology that you could deploy to further automate, what do you see on the roadmap?
Across hundreds of rounds, because we've extracted the key deal terms, we can see what are the most common things. Imagine in the future, you might say, actually, for this style company, it's going to recommend these deal terms. For the company side, it might go, this is the batting average for this investor. This investor takes longer than most, or this investor always wants a board seat. When you can see that this investor has invested in these types of companies and vice versa, the system can start making those recommendations.
Roger, when you think beyond the enterprise market, where do you think ProFinda has some great opportunities?
So what's interesting about the system that we've built, that we've obviously sort of battle-hardened in large multinationals, is you can then apply it to so many other places. So one of the very exciting things for us is how we're applying it to combat climate and climate action. So all those hundreds of thousands of amazing knowledge-based sort of rock stars around the world, presently lost in sort of silos or hiding behind their job title. What we've done is we've got a system that can obviously much more fluidly bring those together. So one of the applications is for climate change. Another one we're doing is for refugees. So for example, mapping knowledge-based skills around the world with work opportunities around the world. One of the interesting things we've cooked up with one of the large consultancy firms is how we are going to remove the friction of visas and sort of legalities, so we can actually move families with those workers. These are doctors, these are teachers, these are nurses. So it's exciting. It's a very exciting area.